Welcome to Mrs. Peach Thrifty Living. I'm so happy you're here today. I'm in a different spot. I'm at my donut shop. Nobody's in here right now besides Hank. He's back there. Today is a glimpse in my life. This is episode 33. By the way, that picture came from Cambodia. Lewin, the former owner here, he's retired now and he brought that back from Cambodia. I think they must have had it framed here. But I always thought that was a beautiful picture. My notes right here. And I'm kind of looking down from time to time. I know I've mentioned many of my trips in the past, mostly going to see families, family reunions and family. One of the trips we went to Utah and visited my cousin, Velma. I've mentioned her over some of my videos. She was my closest cousin when we were growing up. In fact, her mom worked and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she babysat my cousin Velma and her brother Larry. They would bring them really early in the morning and they would come crawl in bed with us, and then Mama would send them to school with us whenever we'd go. But I remember many times when they got in the house and crawled in the bed with us, or Velma did, they smell like bologna. They always had a little piece of bologna on the way out the door before they headed to our house, which was real close, a few blocks away. We were always in the same class at school. And I think in my last video, I might have mentioned that she had come. We went to our high school reunion together. So anyway, at that time, she lived in Utah. And so one of our trips, Fly was trying to devour my coffee. That won't work. We decided to go to Utah and visit her. We was with Barbara. And we had a wonderful visit. It was just overnight, but she wanted to take us out to dinner. And we went to this place that had, this is going to be a continuation of where my video stopped. So it's a couple of days later, and I'm going to take up right where I stopped. I'm hoping the neighborhood is not too loud. I decided to get out on the porch. It's very lovely this morning. And the workers are working down the street. I think they're putting in a new water system. So I'm hoping that's not too loud here. But I was talking about going to my cousin's in Utah. It was somewhere close to Salt Lake City. And she took us to dinner. And that's a repeat here. And then took us to the town where they had all these wonderful horses painted. And I will see if I can find some of them and show you a picture, put a picture on my screen here. After we left her house, we drove on to our family reunion that is in Oklahoma, as I've mentioned many times in my stories here, and had a wonderful reunion. And then we drove back to Dallas to my sister, her in that area where she lives. And we had another few days of just enjoying ourselves in the swimming pool, going with her wherever she goes, and going to her church. Those are always fun things to do. Then we were back on the road to Happy Jack, Arizona. I think we had to stay at least one night in a motel. And Happy Jack, Arizona is where my sister-in-law and brother-in-law lived at that time. It was way up high in the mountains, and they had a beautiful home there. And we just had a wonderful time playing Mexican train, having wonderful meals, just getting to catch up with, actually, that's Richard's sister. Wonderful. She's the one I was always in the same classroom at school. So she was always my friend, and then she was my sister-in-law. So can't get much better than that. After a few days, we went on down to Palm Desert. That son and his wife lived at the time, and we got to visit with her parents also. That wasn't enough. After we get home, then we have another trip. It seemed like that was the year for trips for us. Gail and Willie lived at that time in Minnesota. They were planning a trip to go see their daughter and son-in-law that lived in Williston, North Dakota at that time. They were, I think, pastors at a church and this Williston was a real big um, an oil boom or something like that. If I can find something on that, I'll put it on the screen also. We had a wonderful time visiting with our daughter and our granddaughter and family. That was before they had children. And on that trip, we ended up staying because we drove through, let's say we drove through to Nevada and drove up north in Nevada and then on to, I forgot all the states, but we did go through Montana and then into, I think, South and then North Dakota. So it was way up there. And if you ever look up at the map, it's way up high in North Dakota, northwest. On that trip, we stopped at several wonderful hotels, motels, little inns, and we had such a good time. That was a very memorable, some of the neatest places we stayed at on that trip. Thrown in this year was more camping. We went to Fort Bragg to celebrate our anniversary. That's in October. And then to finish out the year, we drove back down to Palm Springs, or Palm Desert, and had Christmas with our son and daughter-in-law. That was a wonderful time. We just had an awesome time there. As I've been looking through my little calendar and getting memory of some of the things we've done, every year in our area, up in the mountains a little ways, they have Praise in the Mountains. And this Praise in the Mountains, they have several different gospel groups that come in. Not the highest known ones, but some wonderful ones. And it's all a free event. And a lot of the people we knew from the different churches around here would go and we'd just get a chance, would take our pallet blanket. You guys know what that is. Not just a blanket to throw on the ground. It was called a pallet at that time. We would take that and then we'd take our ice chest, we'd take our lawn chairs, our umbrella, everything to make us comfortable. Oh, and a pillow for Richard, because he'd like to lay down a little bit too. We would take some lunch, but they did have vendors there and we'd always get, actually the main thing that I always loved to get there, and that was one of the plans, they had these ice cream dipped in whatever, chocolate or nuts or whatever you wanted, and they were so good. That was always in the plan to get one of those. And then they had a lot of free giveaways for the kids because, you know, it was an outreach, a Christian outreach. So it was so much fun. We would go around and visit with people. Richard stayed more, you know, and at the pallet, and I would go around and visit, get up close to the stage for a little while and then go back and see this person I know or that person, and it was just a wonderful time. We did that for years. I'm sure I'm getting some of this from year to year mixed up, but this all happened. Might not have been all in the same year, which I know this was not. Our granddaughter, the one that lives here, that has a little 2-year-old boy and going to have a new baby in October. Her and her hubby were getting married at that time. And we was able to be involved in helping set up some of the wedding. Beautiful. It was out in the country at a big old barn, and they had everything set up beautifully. Before, when they were getting ready for this, she made arrangements with one of her friends or acquaintances for us to go to a florist. And it wasn't open that day to the public. It was open to the group of ladies that Amber had invited to, taught us all how to make the arrangements, make the flower arrangements for the wedding. That was just absolutely gorgeous. And we all learned a little bit of something that day, and it was so fun. And they also got a lot of, I think it was eucalyptus branches from the side of the road to help make that such a gorgeous occasion. I'll go ahead and say at this time that at that wedding, it so happened, you know, I've mentioned our grandson that is evangelist, Caleb Wampler, Kingdom Encounters International. That's his ministry. He happened to be here at that time. When he first began his ministry, he was just going out on his own, and that was kind of the slower years of his life. It's now so busy. But at that time, he had made some arrangements to preach at some of the churches in our area, people we knew and people that his parents knew. And so he would come here ever so often. We was able to get to go with him to some of the services, and it was so wonderful. And we just enjoyed that time so much visiting with him. And then now seeing the ministry grow and people being saved, so many. Back to the wedding. He happened to be here at that time and was able to go to the wedding. That was such a fun wedding. The MC they had, he just made it so much fun, and we just had such a grand time there, and it was gorgeous to go with it. One last thing I want to tell you is somewhere during that time, Josh and Richard took our old truck, drove it to 500 miles down to Southern California, to Palm Springs, Palm Desert. I know some of them were in Palm Springs, some they were real close to each other. And they drove that truck down there and brought the trailer that they owned back up here. The 500 miles. They towed that, I think it was about a 30, right around a 30-foot trailer. And they towed that all the way up here. They were worn out when they got here. And that's when Josh and his wife and little girl, our little granddaughter, Leah, moved here. In our driveway, we have an extra pad that has the sewer set up and the water set up for you can put a trailer there. So they were there for I kind of lost track of how long, but it was nice having my little granddaughter coming in and out of the house. They did cook some out in the trailer, and then some in the house, and used the bathroom out there, but they took showers inside. So our house was a busy house at that time for I don't know how many years. It was a time things do change. So, and you know, he just got married again, so we won't go into that. But I love my former daughter-in-law, and I love my new daughter-in-law now. So I don't know quite how to say that, but you know, we're blessed. And I'm going to stop there, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. And this sound did right this time. I've never had trouble with it till that last time. I think maybe my battery was going out. So I'm going to say, come back to Marvelous Monday tomorrow. Go check out my playlist for all of these, A Glimpse of My Life, and all my other videos, if you wouldn't mind, if you see something you like. And come on back. I pray God blesses you. Don't forget, no matter where you're at, Jesus loves you. He loves you, and he wants to be your best friend. Go give somebody a smile. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Like, subscribe, comment, and share.